Hi there, and welcome to a new episode of the Impact Talks podcast. Today we have Cory Williams on. Cory, introduce yourself. Where do the people know you from, or where can they see you more?
So I am the world's first professional YouTuber. I've been making YouTube videos for 15 years, and I have a whole bunch of YouTube channels all over the place. Some of you might know me from one thing or another thing, and depending on what you know me by is how I judge you. But I have 5 main channels. SMP Films, that's the first one I started on. The MeanKitty, where I have the first and second most viewed cat videos of all time. It's crazy. Mr. Safety, which is kind of my just mess around channel, which I still go viral on, surprisingly. And LiveEachDay, which is my family vlogging channel. It used to be called Dude Like Hella. And my last one, Just for Kids, a channel that I started for my kids that ended up going really, really big, bigger than anything I've ever done.
Yeah, obviously outside of YouTube, the thing that interests me a lot is you kind of started all over the place. You started somewhere else, even just living. You didn't live, because right now you live in Oklahoma, right?
Right.
So you didn't live there. You started completely somewhere different. Your YouTube content was different. And as a couple of weeks ago, we spoke and you said you have personality, I think a little bit like me. That's why I resonated. That just, you want to do a lot of stuff. And somehow you kind of managed to crack the YouTube code, doing a lot of stuff and attracting an audience that I find is incredibly engaging, because when I read the comments of people that really have been there since the beginning with you, saw you through apparently breakups and you getting married, moving to a place like Alaska and then Oklahoma now. So I guess my question would be, where did it all start? Was it where did the whole dream of YouTube start? Was it something you had in high school that triggered it? Was it something during, tell me.
To start off, I guess, that far back, where did it really start? It started with a very strange childhood. I was, not to go too deep into it, but just kind of unhappy. And so I thought, I need to do something. I need to reach out to the world. I need to explore the world and just be the best me that I can possibly be. And to do that, I found entertainment. I ended up staying with my aunt and uncle in Los Angeles when I was a kid, just for the summer. And he worked on the Sony.
How old were you?
I think I was 14, maybe 14 years old. He was working out on the Columbia TriStar lot, which is Sony, where they filmed a lot of the movies and stuff like that. And I got to walk around and I was like, wow, this is real. It's tangible. I can grab it. I can come back here, And so I told myself when I was a kid, I said, one day I'm coming back to the city where my aunt and uncle live, and I'm going to work in this business because this is where I belong. I just felt it in my heart. And I was a terrible student in school. I had the worst grades. I failed everything. But as soon as I saw that, as soon as I tasted it, all of a sudden I was a straight A student. And so I worked and barely managed to graduate. It was crazy how much change I went through, because extreme failure to extreme success. And anyway, so after high school, my family didn't have a lot of money. Like, we lived not, we weren't fancy by any means. So didn't really have the money to go to college, didn't have the money to do the school stuff. I had scholarships for singing, because I actually am a good singer. I just don't do it. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a singer. So I dropped out of college on the scholarships that I had and pursued video, because I knew that's where I wanted to go. So I was working at Blockbuster Video at the time, and I saved up all of my money from my paychecks, which wasn't much. And I bought my first camera. I said, with this camera, I'm going to do some great things, like every filmmaker says when they first get their hands on a camera. And so I recorded everything. This is back in 1999. I was just recording everything, making silly little short films with my friends. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of going off of what would feel good. And I noticed that my friends, who were, sort of troublemakers, were starting to stay out of trouble, because they found something else to do, because it made them feel good too, just like with me. Because I think what really happened was I was really excited about it so much that that excitement rubbed off on them, and they saw that there was an opportunity to be happy without doing bad things, because they were really just bored. They didn't have that inspiration. So I was a source of that for them. So I started my first film company, SMP Films, which stood for Simple Minded People. And that was because of me and my friends, how we were just that way, you know. So as time went on, I just kept doing stuff, kept working a regular job and working different jobs to try to get skills that I would need on the field to become a great filmmaker. So I just chose, like, I was a movie theater manager and moved up to being a projectionist, and when I was a projectionist, I studied all the movies. I tried to figure out how they were all made and all that. I've spent a lot of time doing that. And then I moved on to being, I think I worked at like Rent-A-Center as like a repo man. And that was an awful job, terrible. It hurt my heart. But what was great about that job is working directly with people to understand them at their lowest, because these people need help. And that's why they come to places like this. It's a last resort place. So I would use my personality and my ability to sell to help get these people in the right direction while continuing to do the right thing in a place that I don't really think is ethical. Well, it's not. Well, you know, that's their business, not mine. And then I continued on through just different jobs like that filled that educational need that I needed, that I knew that I could not afford, you know, as I continued to buy my own stuff. So anyway, years pass. 2004, I finally got my computer, and I know how to use it, and I know basic editing. And I said, okay, now what do I do with all this stuff that I have, all this knowledge? And so I started making videos and selling the stuff that I've been making in like head shops. Head shops are where like people go to get their smoke products or their, you know, paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it.
So like a standard night shop or something?
Yeah, it's a smoke shop, I guess you would call it. But because that was the type of audience that I knew would enjoy my stuff. It was people who may be going through hard times, people who were very just loose with things and open to new concepts and all that. So I sold my VHS tapes through there. Or actually, no, first started with VHS tapes. I converted over to DVDs. So I became a stuntman in that process because I was also a really big fan of wrestling. And I was like, I like wrestling. I don't want to hurt myself. So got trained to become a stuntman, and then mixed stunts with making videos and doing all this other crazy stuff I was doing, and posted it on the internet. And with my singing, like I could sing, right? I had that scholarship thing. I was like, well, I should probably use that too. So I combined all of that and found out that the internet really liked the stuff that I was doing. So started out on some other websites, moved to NewGrounds.com, which was like a Flash animation site, and people were really upset with me because I was converting my videos, like my crazy music videos and things, into videos that people were used to playing games on. I don't know if that makes sense. But that started a real trend in newgrounds.com. And then I built an audience there. And then I moved to Myspace. Almost instantly, I blew up on Myspace. I was the number one.
Newgrounds was something like YouTube, but for games?
No. Yes, YouTube for games, where individual creators would create these Flash animations and Flash games where you just play these really cheap little games that like cartoon games. And they were fun, you know, because this is before the time of online video, really. And I'd been throwing my videos up in places, but the internet speeds were so slow that it was kind of hard to do that at the time for videos. So converting my videos that I was creating into a Flash format allowed me to have my videos shown. So basically I was doing what YouTube was doing before YouTube was doing it, which is taking videos and converting it to Flash. And
how did you know how to do it technically?
I have no idea. Honestly, I think I probably did a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, and just Yeah, I mean, you can do anything on the internet if you really put your mind to it. If you do enough research, you want to learn something, it's there somewhere. And if it's not there, then figure out a way to make it, And so I did. And then again, this is like, 15, 16 years ago. So I don't remember the exact details of how I managed to do it, but I did. But anyway, so yeah, moved over to MySpace, instantly became big because of their music players. So I was big. I was the #1 unsigned comedic music artist in the world on MySpace for quite a while, which gained a lot of traffic. Like I had a lot of friends back then. I think I had like 30,000 friends on MySpace, which at that time was a lot of friends. So I took that core fan base that I had and I moved it to YouTube as soon as YouTube kind of popped up. Actually, no, I can't say that. I put all my stuff all over the internet, all my videos, all my songs, everywhere I could. Even Napster and Kazaa. Do you remember that stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Here's something that I did that was very shady, but I think was very smart. People were stealing music left and right. So I was like, well, if they're going to steal music, why don't I just put my stuff on there and let them steal it? And shoot, why not upload some of my funny stuff and just name it some of the things people are stealing? And I didn't care because I'm like, I'm not breaking any rules. Technically, the people downloading the stuff are the ones breaking the rules. So doing that, it just like skyrocketed me even more because in my songs and stuff, I would say who I am, how to find me and all that stuff. And people loved it because it was so crazy.
So you were pretty much one of those people who trickstered the downloaders.
Yeah.
It was, there's this
and
video.
People, they loved it and they hated it. And I didn't care because it did not matter.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're in the wrong, so.
Right, exactly. So if I take them in a place where they're wrong and lead them in a place that is right, then I've done it, And so that worked a lot, and I didn't care about the repercussions of it because who cares at that point. So anyway, there was a bunch of websites. There was like VidaLife and Vimeo and MetaCafe and all these other places where you could upload videos. But the problem was early in 2005 was that when you tried to share these videos on your MySpace page, because everything had to be written out HTML, they all autoplayed, and it was annoying. So like when your fans would come to your MySpace page and you got like 10 different players automatically playing, it's just like, oh, stop it. You'd have to scroll through and stop it. Right. What YouTube did that was smart, the first smart thing they ever did was create a link that people could use to share on MySpace where the video didn't automatically play. It gave the people who watched or went to these pages the option to watch themselves. And I was like, there we go. And so I saw that my audience was very much enjoying YouTube, and I went over to YouTube and there was nothing happening. It was dead. I mean, it was weird.
This was early, like this was beginning YouTube 2005.
Yes. So this is September 2005. And it was, they started in March. The very first video was uploaded in March 2005, and they didn't really get the ball rolling until like 2006. So I was in there in the first probably 8,000 people, maybe. So I mean, even my name was trending all the time on the top of the. They used to have the tags on the side of the YouTube page of all the trends, and they used to be some really like graphic tags that people looked for because it was weird. But anyway. So as I noticed my audience was liking YouTube, I'm like, you know what? I need to marry one of these places, like one of these video places, so that I can just start building a fan base for video instead of audio, because I was already winning on MySpace. I need to win somewhere else. So then that's when I went to YouTube, and I just said, okay, full force. And yeah, I was sponsored right away because I was already big on MySpace. And they said, you're doing this YouTube thing? Yeah, here, boom. Because I'd helped in these celebrity auctions that I was doing on eBay. So I ended up selling my forehead on eBay. And the top bidder ended up being the brand that just continued to pay me
so
for
pretty
sponsorship
much
deals.
On your video, on your forehead, you had to sponsor.
I didn't have to. I did not have to, and that was the great part. So it was a marketing plan on my end. I'm a marketing guy too, but I like to do it very different. So I put myself, it was not illegal to put your body parts up on eBay at the time. So I saw that some people were doing it, and I helped these group of guys from the Viva La Bam MTV show. They put their arms up on there for these tattoos, and it was just like whoever bid the highest could get their name tattooed on their arms. And so we successfully got that one off the ground, and I was like, dude, awesome. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this for myself now. And so I did it, and I said, I'm gonna say my forehead, except not real tattoo henna. Like,
Wait, so
I was on it.
Viva La Bam, that was the show with Bam Margera on MTV, right?
Yeah.
And then the tattoos went, like, how did that happen?
So the guys had to tattoo their arms with goldenpalace.com because they got the high bid, and it was only like, well, I shouldn't say only because it was a lot of money. It was like $8,000. I wouldn't have done it, but they did it because that's what they had to do, and that's to get their stuff going on their own without BAM. I was working with a lot of the Jackass guys at that point in time. But anyway, so I saw that and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go bigger on this thing. So I said, I'm going to do my forehead, and it got national attention really quick, like hitting the news, and people are like, this guy's putting his forehead. Are you kidding me? And, instantly Golden Palace is like, okay, we'll take it, so yeah. And that's kind of went, but I never had to do it. Cause, the guy that was at goldenpalace.com is like, no, don't do that. It's stupid. You're going to ruin your career, and it's never going to die. You're never going to hear the end of it. And he's like, just here, wear our shirts. We're going to sponsor you. Just keep making your videos, wearing our shirts, and da-da-da-da. So that's, it was great. And at that time, they were paying me, it was $5,000 a month just to wear their shirts. And I hardly had any viewers, any subscribers.
In the beginning of YouTube.
Yeah.
Why? Why were they paying so much if the whole platform was just rolling out?
Because they were smart. They were smart. The only reason that their marketing thing failed was because at the time, George Bush Jr. had passed a law to make online gambling illegal in the United States. And that's the only reason that I had lost them. But they were going to do so much more. We had this whole other plan where they were going to fund more into the channel, and they were going to have me go around the world doing these crazy stunts. I was already performing stunts around like all different places around the US with Golden Palace. Like they would just fly me out to go and do my crazy tricks. And I mean, I was doing stuff even on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno at the time, like, and doing all this other stuff. But anyway, so yeah, that's the only reason. But they were smart. They were really smart. And come on, I mean, they got so much money just from online casino stuff. Like they didn't have like a face, and that's what they wanted me to be at that point in time, was the face of their crazy stuff.
So much to unpack. I wanna start at the beginning though. I didn't want to interrupt it because I really wanted to hear your story from your side, and kind of going through to the beginning of YouTube, and then afterwards, of course, we'll unpack later. But a couple of things stood out for me, which is, you giving up your singing career or scholarship at the time for video. And what I didn't really get is why video? Why? Because the way you're talking, I mean, I feel like sometimes when I look at my life, it's I talk that way about entrepreneurship. I like building, puzzling these things, and camera is just one of the things we do. But why video? Especially if you have a safety net. You are going to college, you have a scholarship. What was going through your mind to give up a scholarship to go do video?
My heart called me.
But
So going back to when I was a kid, 15 years old, and I stayed with my aunt and uncle and got to see all that stuff. I wasn't impressed because everybody knew how to sing. I was impressed because they knew how to do all of the things that they did, the acting, the behind the scenes, the working with cameras and all this stuff. Like, I'm interested in everything. I'm very, very ADD, but I love creativity. Like, I really do. If there's anything that even remotely excites me, I want a piece of it. So if I was just to stick to singing, I probably would have done good somewhere. But just singing? So what I did was, by going the camera route, like, I got to do singing, acting, directing, filmmaking, animation, all these other sorts of things because I'm such an ADD brain. And so I just followed whatever my heart said. I'm a little crazy in the fact that I follow my heart, but I don't consider myself crazy because it's like I'm just following my love and passion for things. If I get bored or sad, it's not worth it.
So it's pretty much the challenge. Singing was one thing, whereas the filming had so many different aspects that could trigger you.
Well, it's that I could do both of them. So like if I just stuck with singing, then I wouldn't be doing film, but I can do film and singing. So that's why I made lots of music videos. So it's not that I gave up singing, it's that I gave up just singing.
Right. Yeah.
And I embraced more, I continue to bring things in,
Where did you go to college?
So I started off at Modesto Junior College. I actually went to like a quick film class. I sat down in a film class with the creator of Rick and Morty. So it's kind of funny that like I did videos and short films with him way back in the day. But no, I went there, and I also had a scholarship to Stan State University.
Yeah.
So I had for 2 colleges.
That one?
No.
So
I quit in the first year.
So you dropped out. Have you ever had the bug to go back, finish it?
No, not even in the slightest, because they didn't teach me what I needed to know. And I knew that. I was very aware of that. And so...
Because right now, obviously, I did a little bit of research, so I know that you're a professor, adjunct professor. Has that affected you somehow, not having that college degree?
It's really hard. Yeah. So I am an adjunct professor for Oklahoma State University here. And I do it more so just to educate local Oklahomans about social media, how to get yourself out there. But more than anything, I just want to light some fires and get people's hearts really going so that they can get out there, even outside of YouTube. But for me, did it make me feel like I missed out on college or any of that? I don't think so. And I don't feel like I ever want to go to college because I taught myself exactly what I needed to know. I'm a pioneer. It's really hard for me to follow in someone's footsteps when the path doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know that. I knew that. It's like I have a vision of things. Like even right now, like I'm sort of on the phase of stepping away from YouTube. As much as I love it, I'm growing out. I'm growing out of it, and so I see another path right now that no one's ever taken, and I'm following it right now. Building it, I should say.
What path is that?
It's a type of VR development. So I'm developing things in virtual reality because through the years I've taught myself a lot of things, and I'm also a game developer. So
That's actually not the first time. Usually I talk with YouTubers, and there is always some comedic element or game element. We had Alex Clark on the podcast as well, a YouTuber, but he also developed a game just a couple of weeks ago that he's launching on Kickstarter. But so it's not the first time I hear this. Do you think there's what triggered you to go into games? Was it the fact that YouTube has some similarities to game development?
It has nothing to do with YouTube. With me, I am like a crazy gamer. In fact, here's how crazy I am. My favorite video game is Portal. I love the Portal series. This room that I'm in right now, this entire room is decorated after Portal. That's a Portal. Those are all rare Portal gun replicas. My daughter's first name is named after the main character in Portal, and my son's name is the supporting character in Portal. I'm just a little bit of a gamer, so, since I was a kid. So it was just kind of like, hey, here's another dream. Here's another challenge. I'm a great storyteller. I'm a great filmmaker. I know how to reach audiences on levels that people don't, and I know how to think outside the box. So the things that I'm creating aren't necessarily games. They're not something, without giving it away too much, what I'm creating right now has never been created. And that's what I'm working on right now.
But what in short you're kind of doing now is you're creating an experience, and you're using the VR medium to get that experience out.
Yes. So I've already created a new thing called VR puppetry. VR puppetry is something that I use for my kids' channel and just for kids. No one else on YouTube is doing it, but I figured out a way to basically build a game, write code, and act out cartoons. So I can build cartoons in real time, just go, and then just crank them out. And nobody else really can do that. And I'm a one-man show. doing this stuff. So I don't have a team. I had a team. I had a guy that was working with me for a little bit, but yeah, he saved me time.
You learned how to code and you developed the games yourself?
Completely.
So you don't have a team or developers. How did you, because that's not easy. How did you learn, especially VR is not easy. So how did you learn to code that way?
I have an ability to learn things very quickly. So that is one thing, even though I'm extreme ADD, I've learned because of my ADD, I have the ability to hyperfocus, and I think more so than most people probably. And
I just wanted to say that one of the symptoms of ADD is you also have the opposite thing, which is hyperfocus.
Yes, and hyperfocus allows me to learn at a faster rate than the average person. And so as long as I have that the ability to stay excited about something, then I'll hyper learn it. And so I don't like nobody can teach me fast enough. And I learned that in high school, that's why I failed so hard. And that's why in college, I couldn't go because the teachers only teach at the speed of the class.
Yeah.
And that's just not me. I'm way faster than that. And I thought I was stupid when I was a kid. I really did. And so now doing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I just needed to be in an accelerated class.
Right.
So long as I was excited about it.
You also needed to be triggered, right? If I look at myself, having similar things, when I hyperfocus, actually, my girlfriend told me I sometimes forget to breathe. So I tend to develop a chronic hyperventilation thing.
Interesting.
What my doctor's called. But so I just breathe funny, but it sounds like a cough, but I don't really notice it. And what I have noticed though is, obviously I do a lot of breathing techniques to counteract that, and I've been pretty healthy for a while now. But what I've noticed is when you do hyperfocus, how long does it last for you? Do you feel like you can, if you really are triggered by a subject, you really stick with it for a long time, or is it very much just this hyperfocus that lasts you a couple of days, a couple of weeks?
Well, I've learned through time different ways to keep it going. So I use other senses. So I will burn certain sorts of candles or scents in my room wherever I'm at to continue that. Like if I need to be very creative and create something that's never been created, I'll burn cinnamon. So anything that has a heavy cinnamon smell, it'll be like almost burning your nose because it keeps me there. And if I need something that's going to be for kids or really sweet, whatever, I burn a lot of vanilla stuff. I also have other stimulants like different types of weird things to touch and feel, rough surfaces, balls and stuff like that, just to kind of jumpstart my brain to remind me, oh yeah, this is fun. Not that I ever need that, but it's good to have. Also, I take a lot of naps. I've learned that naps are a good way to retain all of the information that I have. And then when I'm up from the nap, usually I'm not napping. I have another weird ability. I can work lucid dreaming while I sleep. So every night I lucid dream. I can control everything in my dreams. And so I get double the work done while I dream. And my wife thinks it's super weird, but it's a real thing. So a lot of my best writing comes from talking with my subconscious.
Did you learn lucid dreaming, or how was the process like?
No, since I was a kid. I knew I had that, but I didn't know what it was. And over the years, I've told myself, yeah, this is what it is. And so being aware that that's what I'm doing has actually aided in my ability to do it better. And so I've just kind of focused on that. So when I go to sleep at night, I say, here's what I'm going to work on tonight. In the morning, I'll have the answer. And I do. I usually do. And so that's...
So in short, to retain your hyperfocus, what you do is you anchor as many senses as you can, especially when you're doing certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you feel that aids you? Are you able to then keep that hyperfocus for several weeks longer, or is there a point where it's like, okay, I'm starting to fade, and how long does it take?
So it depends. I will say, like, I am an emotional person. I'm very attached to my emotions. My emotions drive my creativity. Right. But with the emotions, can come downfalls. So if something happens that really impacts me, like with YouTube, we all have our weekdays where we're just kind of weak and we're, just like tired or whatever it is. Right. Sometimes a comment would hit me and it would just really like take me down a notch. you know, and I have really high self-esteem, but just sometimes I can't take it. And then it kind of snowballs, and I have this thing that goes into a spiral. Also, if I'm not working on anything, my brain will tell me very bad things. So, because I'm a creative person. If I'm not keeping my hands busy, I'll create something that should not be, it should not exist. And so, I would say I probably go through those spirals once every week and a half, quite honestly. And those spirals usually last about a day to a day and a half. And all I have to do usually is just kind of tell myself, hey, this is a chemical. It's a chemical that's in my brain right now, maybe because I haven't slept, maybe because I'm not hydrated enough, and maybe because it's just outside things. But all I can do right now is control me and how I feel and what I've done. And I've been through a lot of that.
It sounds to me like you're going really hard and fast for like a week and a half, and then you have a day and a half where your body just says, how about we rest now?
Yeah, exactly what it is. I'm in denial of it all the time. I'm aware of my denial. But is that denial? I don't know. Still trying to figure that part out. But yeah.
As long as you accept it.
As long as I accept it, right.
Accepting.
Exactly. So it's like if I allow myself to have those days, not that I need them, but if I say, look, it's okay. I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna have these dark days, and they're gonna pass. Then, at least in that point in time where I'm having that dark, really hard day, I'm saying to myself, like, this sucks, but it's not forever. And then I know I'm good. So.
You know what? I think it's very important you just said that, because when you were telling your story, the way it sounded like it was always on, very hard. And I think what was important that was mentioned is that your body, even though you're in denial, your body just tells you, no, this is it. Like, we're going to take a day off, and then you can go equally as hard, 2 days later. But so that's super interesting. I was actually talking with an ultra marathon coach this morning about that, and she was explaining the concept of fatigue, that if you don't listen to your body and the fatigue, that it compounds and eventually it becomes like a burnout. And so it's very interesting to hear that you actually listen to your body, and that break does happen, and it happens consistently, which is cool. So getting back then, we're looking now, obviously, well, a bit outside of where we are in the story, but so you're making all these videos. At one point you mentioned that you were a stuntman. So I want to get back to the video, but where does the stuntman part come in? How is that relevant to your career in video? Why did it happen in the first place?
So, you know how I get excited about things. I just got excited about stunt work. I thought it was really cool. And the very first time that I ever wanted to be an entertainer, I was in 4th grade. I was on my bicycle, and I was trying to drive up these railroad tracks that were impossible, and I fell off, and my friends were laughing at me. And I looked back, I was like, they're laughing. I'm going to do it again. And I did it a whole bunch of times, and I just kept crashing until I was bloody. And I was like, wow, this is hilarious, But that was the moment where I realized I wanted to be something entertainer, right? That was my moment. And it was until later that I went to the Columbia TriStar lot that I realized it was real. So I think that stuntman part just kind of stuck with me, and that turned into some things. So I became a professional stuntman. I'm actually also a trained professional wrestler. It's like WWE style professional wrestler. I was trained by Rikishi and Gangrel, which are WWE legends. And so that was like down the road. I've done a lot of things.
But who got you, like, obviously you're going through your career. Who or what happens to tell you, hey, you should be a stuntman or go into the WWE? Like, what? Can you go to the beginning and tell us what happened there?
Well, yes. So in 2012, I was already doing stunt work, but I stopped for a little while. But I'll go to the WWE thing. 2012, I was doing this like fitness challenge, and I got myself to be ripped. I was super jacked.
Yeah,
I was the best I'd ever been, and it was awesome. And I just thought, wow, it is on YouTube, I think. So I got myself jacked, and then one of my friends said, "Hey, why don't you come to this show? You got to go come check it out." I said, "Okay, I'll come check it out." And then I found out that, is this how it went? This is how I remember it. I'm just going to, this may not be factual, but this is how I remember it. One of the wrestlers actually enjoyed the work that I was doing online, ended up being Rikishi, who was, I love him. And we ended up just hooking up, and then bam, I was part
it
of
your
the team.
YouTube work, the videos, or?
Yes, my YouTube work. So he was a fan of the YouTube stuff that I was doing, and he would always say, "Oh, that was really funny stuff," you know. Like he's such a fun guy. But yeah, it was just an interesting thing that happened. I just roll with it. If it sounds fun, I'm gonna do it.
And so the training of a stuntman compared to the training of a WWE.
Totally different. Totally
like, what was happening? Well, how did you train to be a stuntman? How did you train for the other thing?
So I was a different type of stuntman earlier on. You know, a lot of people say that I was a sort of a Jackass type stuntman, but I was not. What they didn't realize is that I was more of a magician or a sideshow act. The things that I did looked really crazy, but they weren't real. And I did that on purpose because, you know, my thing had been that I wanted to take people who are going through really hard times and turn them into a good light, to turn them into a place where they can do good things with their life. And I knew that a lot of these people who were doing Jackass type stuff were really hurting themselves, and they're doing some really awful things. I mean, they could die, right? And they just come from really hard places. So I knew that I could do that. So I again, hyper-focused on different ways to create stunts that would look really crazy and encourage these guys to come be with me. And then I would show them that, hey, look, this is really what it was. You know, it's not that I'm tricking you. It's that, hey, it's magic. Let's do
like
this.
Like an illusionist almost.
Yes, I was an illusionist. So here's one of my best things that I did. It was super popular. I would take a 150-foot rubber band and snap myself with it. When you would pull that thing, it would sound like a jet landing, and it would hit me and knock me clear off my feet. I mean, crazy. But the trick behind that was, first I would show people, okay, here's one industrial rubber band. These are rubber bands that come in shipping containers to keep fridges closed. Learned from Rent-A-Center. So the rubber band, if you put it around your waist and you snap yourself with it, it's gonna leave a gnarly bruise. I mean, just like real bad, right? So I would show people that first. And so I would bring up somebody who was crazy enough to try it. They would snap themselves, they'd have a bruise, and they're like, oh my gosh, now. And then I'd say, now I'm gonna do that with 100 or 15 of those things. And they're like, no, you know? So, but now here's how the illusion works. When you have that much rubber, right? You tie up 15, I think it's 10, maybe 10. You tie up 10 of those rubber bands and you stretch them out. When the rubber bands come towards you after you put one around your waist, when they come towards you, the rubber just balls up in front of you before the end hits. So really all that's happening is I'm getting a soft rubber push. And when that would happen like that, I would just do a move where I hop and kick my legs out and land like that onto my face. So it looked real and looked scary. And I would put like baby powder on the rubber bands before I would even do it. And the rubber bands would smoke up. So it looked really dramatic. And so that was one of my stunts that I did.
Where did you learn how to do stunts like that? Because I remember seeing on Netflix, actually, the series that explains how movies are made. And they were showing the Home Alone movie. And like people, like the scene where they go up the stairs and then drop super hard. And somehow, from my experience and all the stories I've heard, these stuntmen just really hurt themselves, but somehow they're not hurt. So is there a trick to that, or how did you learn how to deal with that? Is your pain tolerance just higher?
All that. I do have a high pain tolerance. But really, it came down to just think it through first. Like I wouldn't just go do it on a whim. I would stop and I would think, okay, if I'm gonna do this, what is the safest way to do this? What is the safest way or best way to sell it, to make it look like it's actually happening? And just kind of go through that. And, you know, it was really fun for me to try to put all that together. But really, I mean, I didn't have any, I had a little bit of like, you know, stunt fighting, like movie training from friends that had done that stuff. And
right.
I just morphed it. I just took a lot of different inspirations and different teachings and put it into one thing, really. I mean, even when you're going through like a, like a martial arts class, they teach you how to fall. It's the same concept of how do you fall safely? How do you fall, distributing your weight evenly when you're coming down, how you slap the ground to try to stop, different ways to do that.
I did martial arts my entire life. I did judo, and I'm now in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I've learned how to fall. And I know, for instance, with judo, you learn how to fall and you use momentum. And then obviously you clap really hard with your hands so that the momentum leaves through multiple areas. But when you drop, the way sometimes I see stuntmen drop, like it's not like they have gloves on to slap really hard, or they fall straight on their back. Or you were just mentioning how you fell and it didn't seem to me like a judo fall. So I did martial arts my entire life. I cannot imagine me doing some of the stunts and not actually hurting myself. Or were you actually hurting yourself in the process? Or
I mean, the only things that would hurt me in my stunts were the little things, like the snapping of the rubber band from just the single one. That hurt, but it didn't hurt me that bad. Like, because I know my pain tolerance. I know where I'm at. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably like an 8, whatever.
Okay,
it's not a 10. I'm alive.
So the training is pretty much a very methodical thinking through what's the safest way to get there. And then what can I tolerate pain-wise, and then pretty much doing that. But then it sounds to me pretty much like you were a perfect candidate to do WWE.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to hurt yourself when you're training for that sort of entertainment wrestling. You're not. I mean, you are protecting more than anything. You are protecting the person that you are in the ring with. It is a brotherhood. Let me tell you, that world is so much more amazing than anyone knows. Just the love that is shared between the people there, the respect that I have for them is so great. Like when I see somebody who is a wrestler who is trained properly, I love them. Instantly brothers, man. It's really cool.
How is the training like? How did you start? How long did it take you? Did you eventually fight in the ring?
I did. So training, you're in a class with a bunch of people. I trained at Knox Pro. If you want to check out knoxpro.com, it's in California. Really great school. Highly recommended. Simone Dynasty is the best. So Knox Pro, they basically, you're in a class with a bunch of other people, and they'd have you do drills where you're falling and taking bumps, meaning like you're hitting the mat or just getting hit. And they just kind of go through and train you one thing at a time, and teach you the language, the lingo. And I don't want to give all that stuff away, but it's amazing. And like even if you're into fitness and you just want to do something different, give this a shot. As crazy and weird as some people might think it is an art so much more than people know. Like people have no idea the backside of YouTube, of wrestling. People just think, oh man, those like silly ballerinas. Like no, I don't know. It's hard to explain until you're there. You don't know.
How physical is it compared to, let's say, boxing or something like that? Is it something you can take your girlfriend to, or is it something they know you have to do like on your own and suffer on your own?
Well, you can take your girlfriend, but I don't know if you want to. Depends on your girlfriend, I guess. I would say, like, if you're into fitness and you want to do something different, give this a shot. It can be hard even for somebody who is coming from like a football background, because
so it's very physical.
It's for the training. It is. I mean, you can find yourself out of breath very quickly in the ring. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to breathe and all that stuff. But man, I could go on and on about wrestling training, but
nice.
Leave that to Knox Pro.
So how is your? How long did it take you before you got in the ring?
I think it was a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. I didn't do anything like too crazy. I took a couple bumps fighting a clown, but it was a really thing because I was vlogging, so I was doing video vlogs for YouTube, and so I wanted to be the first YouTuber to go in there and do all that stuff. The only reason I ended up stopping, was because YouTube went through a major algorithm change, and at that time, and it really annihilated my channels. And
Really?
so
Why?
YouTube's
Because
algorithm.
was that the algorithm change after all those pranksters and stuff like that? Or
There's
was it
been a
something
lot
else?
of algorithm changes. So
Yeah.
so what? Okay, so switching topics over to YouTube really quickly. With YouTube, what happened was the algorithm, which is the AI that it's a self-learning thing that learns YouTube and all that. It saw my YouTube channel SMP Films as a channel that just wasn't needed anymore. Reason being is because I had so many different types of people watching my videos because I'm such a variety guy. Like I would make a short film, a music video, a stunt video, a real serious documentary, all this stuff in the same channel. That my audience would either love this video and then hate this video and then be okay with this video. So the algorithm would be like, well, if you can't entertain your own subscribers, why should we show you to anybody?
Oh.
And it killed my channel. YouTube's a business. You know, they're in it to keep people around. But my channel wasn't necessarily about keeping people. It wasn't keeping people around. It was making people go, wow, that's amazing. Wow, that sucks. Instead of being niche. Like now it's like niche things.
I wasn't aware. So that means pretty much the message is the more niche you go, the better.
Yes, absolutely. If you can stick to one thing, the algorithm will learn you and it'll say, okay, here's who you are, here's what you do, and here's why I trust that you will do the best in this category.
Wow.
Because, yeah.
I was getting indications of that because we have our own YouTube channel. We have a couple of YouTube channels. I was getting those indications and we were starting already to adjust our strategies this year. But like, this is the first time I actually heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why certain things work and other things don't. I know how to make just about any channel go big, go viral, all of that stuff. Personally, I only do it for myself if I really want to. But I know when things are dead, I know when things aren't going to work, and I know when they are. The things that do work, I just don't care to do because it's not in my heart to do it. I'm not a money-driven person by any means. I hate money. I wish I could just do my things and just do that. But
so actually we talked about it before the podcast, but you gave me that story of the lady in Alaska with the hot dog stand.
Yes. Okay, so Yeti Dogs. Yeti Dogs is a little hot dog stand at a park in Anchorage, Alaska. Is it Tony Knowles Park, Knowles Trail? I can't remember the name of the park. Anyway, her name's Erica. She makes these amazing little Yeti dogs. I was trying to teach the power of social media to Alaska because Alaska is Alaska. They're kind of far out there and they're still kind of learning the social media thing. And with Erica, I said, you know, Erica, let's really make you big. Let's let the world know who you are.
Why
and
her? Why her? Why did you choose her?
Because she was a good person. Because everybody knew who she was when they just walked by her, and she's just a friendly soul, and somebody that I knew would do well with this knowledge and this ability. She put her. I'm trying to remember the story exactly. She had put herself up to try to become known, right? On it's a famous fast food website or something. I don't remember the name of the website, but it's like for the best. I wish I remembered everything, but the point is, I helped her get herself out there through social media, and then she ended up winning this really big, it's like Reader's Digest contest or something like that. But she's the #1 hot dog seller in the United States, if I can remember that right.
So are you still in touch with her? How big did her business
I am.
become?
She's still doing really well. I believe she won 2 years in a row, even after I only helped her once, but really it's her that really got it. I gave her the push. Alaska really got behind her. But she's doing really good. I mean, really, she's still doing the same thing, but I think mainly because it's what she loves to do. So why change it if you love it and all that stuff? I mean, sure, she can scale. I'm sure she can. And maybe she will someday, you know, with this whole change and, you know, with COVID. I don't know how things are going for her now, but, you know, she's still doing her thing.
But she has online reach. But so you said you did something on social for her. Can you actually go through the process? What did you do?
So for her, again, okay, so starting out, she didn't really have a social presence. I believe she may have had a Facebook. There wasn't really much to it, and I thought let's do something really big. So what I did to help her out was first, I rallied up and said, hey, let's do this fun thing where we get all the people who love her hot dogs to dress up like Yetis, because they were called Yeti dogs, and we'll just have like like a little bike ride from one side of the Tony Knowles Trail all the way to where she is. So me and a whole bunch of people dressed up as Yetis got on our bicycles and just rode, and I tried to reach out to a lot of the local media outlets, and I talked about it on my video blogs at the time, which had a lot of viewers to really get the attention. And when people did that, they saw it, they're like, oh, that's so cool. Why are they doing it? Oh, because she's doing it in a contest? Oh, I love her. Yeah, I'll vote for her. So they'd get on the phone and they'd vote. And that's how she ended up winning, because she had the support of the majority of the community, which was really good. Whereas other hot dog stands, I mean, they're just hot dog stands to most people.
Right. And so you say you reached out to the local media. For this is super relevant to our startups, for instance, that when they usually like barely started, there is no Facebook channel at all. And we kind of depend on local media. But how did you reach out to local media? Did you just go on their website, hit contact, and call them? Or what did you do?
Do everything. Reply them. I would get to know them through other media events if I could. This one's kind of a tough one. I was already viral in Alaska, and so I was already very well known by the media. So I had a little bit of a pool to be able to reach out to certain people. I also had Anchorage gave me a morning show every morning on, it was a CBS. So I would come on. Not every morning, I'm sorry. Every Wednesday morning, I would come on and talk about my latest adventures in Alaska. And then they would, just show it and have me there. And it was really great. They were very supportive. Alaska's amazing for that.
You just said, I love that story because it kind of shows that you did, something that is worth writing for the press about. And then you pretty much packaged it, gave it to the press, which I think is very relevant to startups as well. But maybe, do you have another story? You just said that if you had to do it again, you'd probably know exactly what to do, or you'd know what doesn't work. Could you maybe cover, let's say you have to start over from zero. What do you do? How do you do it? What's the strategy like? And what do you definitely not do?
So starting over for myself from zero.
You want to go and you want to grow on social.
Name my business. What's my business?
Well, impact, social good, maybe something in education or something like that.
Okay, so because that'll give me some context. Because if I'm starting over, I need to do something I've never done before. Okay, so let's do some planning on how I would go about this. Education. First things first. Who's my audience? I need to figure that out. I'm going to try to figure out, what do they watch? Where do they go? How do they consume all their content? What kind of people are they? What do they usually buy? Where do they usually go? Do they have kids? Have they had kids? Do they want kids? What kind of house? What's their income? What part of town do they live in? Everything about them. I obsess over my audience, obsess over who it is that I'm talking to. Once I understand who that person is, then I ask myself, who am I? What am I trying to do here? What are my goals? Now, once I get all of that, then I apply those two things. So now what are my strengths and what I'm about? How are those going to feed those people? And are those really my people? I very much follow the concept of, there's a book that I read called Primal Branding. Now, Primal Branding, great book. You should read it. Teaches you a lot about a lot of different things. Sorry, somebody's at my house. And also the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Yeah, by Stephen Covey.
Yeah. So I follow both of those things. And so I'll kind of like mesh those two together, but especially primal branding.
What does primal branding talk about then? What do they
Primal
say?
branding gets down to who we are as primitive people. Like, what is our core of who we are, and what we do. Very hard to explain, but what's really great about the book, realistically, just get it on audiobook through Audible or whatever, and listen to like the first, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then, yeah.
20, 30 minutes, and then in those first chapters they really go into the who we are as people, and then
Yes.
how to brand towards that.
Yes, yeah. So it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry, somebody's here.
But so what you're telling me, from what I'm understanding, so you pretty much create the avatar and you make sure that you know everything about them, where they hang out, what they love, what they don't love. And then what I like very much is what you said afterwards, which is you also look at yourself and what your strengths are, and if you can bring those two together.
So that's the start of it. Now that's just the understanding who you are. Like, if you're going to start any business, you need to know who you are, where you're going, and who you're talking to. Okay, so assuming we got all of that taken care of, now what we need to do is reach out to the people who can speak to them. But we think about, who are those people? You know, what are those media outlets? Who are the influencers that they're talking to? Do our brands match up? Once you know that, then you can speak to those people, and it should be, in theory, easy to get through, because so long as you understand who you are and who you're talking to, then whoever you are talking to in that case should match up easily and should be fairly easy to work with. You know, so like if let's I always use the cupcake lady as an example. Say you've got a cupcake store. You are currently out of business because of COVID-19. You know, you're not able to do anything, and you're like, man, what am I going to do? And you have to start over. But all I know how to do is make cupcakes. This is the time where you start reaching out, finding different people that love to make cupcakes, and teach them how to make your cupcakes. Get them to fall in love with you because of your story and what you do and who you are. And by the time, you know, the whole COVID-19 thing allows you to come back in, I think people are already doing stuff. But for the sake of conversation, once people are out and about, they can come to you and be with you in a different way. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, because what you're trying to do is build a community. From what I'm understanding, you're talking to people, explaining your story, getting them connected to you. Are you teaching other muffin bakers then, or
Yes, it's the community. Like, so the more you teach, the more you learn, by the way. A great thing, this is why I like to do a lot of lecture stuff, why I like to do a lot of speaking, is because a lot of times when I say it, I learn it. It's like reteaching myself. So whenever you do that for other people, even your own competitors, it's a good thing. When I worked in the movie theater business, you know, I was a theater manager / projectionist, all that stuff. And we would always be friends with all of the other theaters in town, always promoting each other, always helping each other
Really?
out, because that's how you strengthen, you know, just a love for watching movies in theaters, is by pushing that, by making it good. Yeah, so hard to explain that one. See, here's where my ADD starts to go like a little.
no, it's like it's completely there, because what you're trying to say is eventually, no matter which area you go in, doesn't matter who your competitors are, you shouldn't be jealous. Just
No.
connect and help each other out. And okay, you also covered at one point the things you would definitely not do, or you would see don't work. What do you mean with that? How do you know when some things aren't good? Yeah.
So, a good example, my kids channel, Just for Kids. It is a channel that I initially made for my kids, but at that time it was my daughter and my nephew, who I could never see in California because we live so far away. I tried a lot of different things there, and the things that didn't work were just things that were outside of what my kids liked. You know, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't hit my core audience. That's totally missing. And so, yeah, and if I wasn't passionate about it, that's a big miss for me too. But trying to think of mistakes that I've made or companies that have made where it's just like, that didn't work. You probably shouldn't have done that. I've made plenty of mistakes.
Let's go back to the example maybe. Let's go back to the example. So we have this education. company that's just starting out, no social media, like what are the first things they should be doing? Should they start a YouTube channel? Should they start an Instagram page? Like where are they going? And
yes, right now the first thing to do is start Instagram. Assuming the education channel, their audience is on Instagram. Wherever their audience is where they need to start. But Instagram, I think, is the easiest one to crack. Like if I wanted to get big on Instagram, it's so easy. Even TikTok right now is crazy. Just the way it works, the tagging and everything. It's when I say easy, I mean it's easier than YouTube. I mean it's easier than a lot of other places, and it's already pretty well established. And micro influencers get so much more traffic than, or so much more out of it than like major influencers do. But yeah, so Instagram, I would definitely do that and learn hashtags. Take the time to learn these social media outlets as well. Like, you know, do your research. It doesn't take a whole lot. Just to understand the basics and think it through.
And so then you create a post. I'm assuming you create probably 3 posts or something like that. You create the hashtags. I did notice lately in the last couple of months, Instagram, maybe even longer already, Instagram does not promote organic traffic anymore. So when you post something, it doesn't get as many likes as it used to get.
Mm-hmm. But it's still...
Is there something more than hashtags you should be doing then?
I mean, if you follow hashtags and you reach out to people, like people are still going to share. You can still, if you follow a hashtag and you see somebody who is talking about something that might be something your business could use, talk to that person, give advice, give whatever, like help people, you know. That's one way to do it. But again, it comes down to, it's tough because it comes down to your audience. Is your audience a Instagram audience? Is your audience more so on Pinterest? Pinterest apparently is really easy to get at and is pretty big. You know, like my audience has shifted and changed. So everything I do is a little different for every situation.
Do you think that initially paid ads is something that you'd advise just to get the initial traction going?
Never. I will never suggest anybody to do paid ads in the beginning. Paid ads should only be there once you are established and you understand what to do with the traffic that you get from those paid ads. Like, why would you pay for ads to get somebody to your profile if you don't even know how to keep people at your profile? You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. So pretty much when you have an established strategy and a sales funnel or some funnel, whether it's sales or not, that keeps engaging them, then you should consider paid ads.
Yeah, once you understand how to do all of that stuff, then you should engage in that. And again, depends on your business.
But then, I'm sorry that I'm kind of diving deeper into it, but I guess I'm still a little bit critical because if somebody would start an Instagram right now, it's really hard to get to 10,000 followers without paid advertising. We haven't done any paid advertising on our Instagrams, and we did, so the charity organization that created surfing events called Why Not 3, that channel got to 10,000 much faster than startup funding events. Like we're close to 10,000. But like we're talking about 10,000. This isn't 100,000. So we're still kind of struggling to get there, and we're one of the kind of bigger ones, I guess, in our region. So, I mean, we are doing the hashtags, we are doing this, and if I compare ourselves even to the startups, you know, it's just not that easy. One of our startups who's a winner started their Instagram, and I think they didn't even hit their first 1,000. Mm-hmm. And they were doing hashtags and posting and doing Instagram stories as well.
Do they, I guess where I missed it is, as long as you understand what you are doing and you are ready to have those people come to you. You know what I mean? Like it's like this. Say you're doing a play, right? It's your very first time doing a play, and you get your friends together and you do this stuff, and it's just kind of like at your house. And you've got this like grand idea, right? But then you're like, well, we're not really practiced enough and we don't really know our lines. But let's just get people in here so we can actually start selling tickets. Well, then those people come to your house because you've paid essentially for those people to come to you, and they watch your show and they go, this is a little bit of a train wreck. I mean, you might keep a couple, but they might go, this isn't really that great. And then they're going to leave. Well, guess what? People remember things when it's bad much more than they remember things when it's good. So if you're not ready, then they're always going to remember that you're bad. And if anybody says later on, oh, hey, there's this group that's doing this thing, that guy's going to go, hey, don't. It's just something at their house. It's weird. Don't. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with social media. So if you understand what you're doing and if you are ready for that, then do it. But don't pay for it if you're not ready. Don't pay for it if you don't understand how to do it organically. Yes, you could go organically. It'll take a lot longer if you don't do any ads at all. I'm not saying you shouldn't do ads. So yeah, no, I mean, after a certain period of time, if you look at your stuff and you're like, it's tight. I know it's tight. I know everything looks great. We're on schedule. Everything. It's just that we're just not getting that extra push. Do it.
Clear. So if I understand it from what you said just now, is make sure that the play, which is, let's say, your Instagram profile, is actually interesting to follow, because then organically you will already start growing because people are sharing it. And then, there's a fire. You can ignite the fire with paid ads if you want to.
Yes. You're more likely to have a better ROI when you're able to keep those people around. When they come to your thing and they're like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is exactly what I've been wanting to see. Right. Yeah.
But so social media, in short, which is maybe then important for most businesses to know, including obviously our business, it's all about entertaining people. And if you don't entertain them and you just selfishly post about stuff, then nobody's going to follow you, I guess, or nobody's going to even keep coming back.
Yeah. Like my Instagram, it sucks. It does. But you go look at my Instagram at SMP Films. There is nothing on my Instagram that is even remotely entertaining to people. I don't care because I don't. I still have a lot of followers, but the followers that I have, I didn't ask for. They just kind of hung out because I'm just being me. I'm just Cory, so yeah, I mean,
I love it. No, I get it. I finally get it. So thanks for explaining. Again, going back, small detour there. So you discovered a passion for video, which, I understand now. You're getting out of college. So now I'm assuming you're in your 20s at this point. By when were you comfortable? Was there a big struggle? Can you explain a little bit more about that story?
I was comfortable the day I found out that I had the opportunity.
Were you also then financially comfortable?
I have never been financially comfortable. No, look, it doesn't matter how much money I have. Like right now, I've got 6 figures in my bank. I'm still not comfortable. Only when I think about it. I don't think about it. Like if I'm sitting here, see, I'm a different type of person. As a creative, I let my emotions drive me, not my bank account.
Right.
I don't think about what I have in my thing. I think about what I can do to make an impact on the world and how I can enjoy what it is that I do for my own existence here. And so that's what I look at. So was I comfortable? Yes. The moment that I found out that I had the opportunity. I had a really weird childhood. Really, really weird childhood.
Right.
And anything that I could do to have a better life and to impact others so that they don't have anything weird. It's this kind of I feel like my childhood, I say it's weird, but it's I don't want to go into it, but everybody has their own things, but I just want to make sure that people have the best lives that they can and that I can have my best life that I can in the process.
So pretty much out of the struggle that was your childhood, when you finally discovered what you truly wanted to do, there was probably a switch that just happened in your mind, and then financially it didn't matter as long as your rent was covered, I'm assuming, and you had food on the table. Even then, probably not as important.
Top ramen.
How long did it take you before you started really getting good at video?
I would say I am never great. I will never be great. I'll never be great as I see in my mind because I'm always going to improve. Now, good in this, it's like whose standards are we talking? What is the level of good? Like when I started,
good enough for yourself, I would say that you did something that you can launch on YouTube or Myspace or whatever it was.
Every video that I put out, I'm good enough for myself. I'm always wanting to be better, but I'm good enough for the moment. I put out stuff that I personally am entertained by. If I love it, I'm sharing it with the world. If I don't love it, I am not talking about it. I don't want people to see it. You know, and that's when it's work. I haven't worked a day in years. Decades.
And what kind of jobs were you doing? So you mentioned very quickly when you were going through your story, you got a side job as a video editor there and this, and you had, how many of these side jobs did you have, and kind of what were your main learning lessons?
This is a fun one.
Yeah.
So, and I love it. I get excited and I rub my hands together because I love this subject. So again, blockbuster videos where I started.
Right.
I just wanted to watch videos really and try to understand that and play free games. And then I worked at Togo's, which was like a sandwich place, but more so that I could work with people on a different level and free food. Because I was
Togo's?
poor.
Just
because I was hungry. It was
Okay.
food. So it was a side job for food. And then, because I had no money, I spent all my money on camera stuff, so I needed to get food somewhere. And then I ended up working at, I think it was at Straight to Rent-A-Center, I think it was. And that's where I started teaching myself all the, you know, or no, I'm sorry. No, I worked at the movie theaters. That's right. So I went to the movie theaters to learn film and to do management stuff.
But why movie theaters? Because you were already in Blockbuster, so you probably saw a ton of movies. So
yes, but the Blockbuster, the problem was I wouldn't be watching movies at work. I'd be watching movies at home. And if I'm watching movies at home, I don't have the social life or the ability to make the videos that I make. And so like it was kind of a mix. So working at a movie theater, I could sit in the projection booth waiting for movies to get done. And I would just watch the movies with no sound to learn and to try to pick apart why they look the way they look and all of those sorts of things. And so it gave me time to stop and have peace. I was by myself. I wasn't dealing with the public. And then after that is when I went to Rent-A-Center, and I needed that to increase my sales skills and to talk with people. After Rent-A-Center, I became a pest control guy. So I was working in pest control. So I was doing a very mundane job that didn't require me to, well, I sold sometimes, but I would sell, I would just kind of do services. But more than anything, that gave me time to write. So in between jobs, I would park my truck in a park, the nearest park, wherever it was, and I would just write ideas. I would write stories. I would think about all the things that I want to do when I'm off work and just did that. Meanwhile, while doing all of this stuff, I was also a firefighter.
What?
Yeah. So for like 2 years, I was a firefighter. I was working for Merced County Fire Department as a PCF. And so basically I'd go out to all the calls and do all that stuff. And the reason that I did that was because I needed to look face to face with my own mortality. I needed to see the accidents that could happen, and I needed to remember how fast things were. And one day I would watch a man die. And the next day, I'm helping give birth to a child. This is a story that's really confusing to me, and I'm still trying to pick it apart. Right. This is one day. One day I was on a call, got a code blue. You had to get in the fire truck. We go, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, out in the country in Merced, California. And there is an old man in his home. He's cold. He's stiff. He's gone. But I looked around his house, and I was like, look at this place, man. Like, he looked like he was happy. He looked like he enjoyed it. He was sitting there. He was just reading his paper, and he was just old. He didn't have any underlying health issues. He was just old, and it was his time. We get back to the station, or maybe we're almost back to the station, and all of a sudden we get another call, childbirth. And it was at like this crazy church. We get to the church. I'm the first responder, and I mean, the lady is in the bathroom of the church, and the whole church is like, hallelujah, like going all crazy. And they're like, the Lord is bringing someone in today. And I was like, whoa, this is great. Anyway, so I go into the bathroom, and the lady's in the stall. Like, she thought she had to do something else, and instead she was actually giving birth right there. So here I am, like, okay, and so we did the whole thing, and I step out of the church, whatever, and Captain looks over at me, he goes, Williams, how you doing? I'm like, been a crazy day. So I saw death and life on the same day, and man, that puts it into perspective how beautiful life it is, and all that stuff, and I've seen things that like I couldn't repeat on social media that are very dark, and I've told jokes in the worst situations. I've learned to laugh at things and times that it just, I want to say it, but I'm not going to because it's really deep and hard. But anybody who's ever been a medic or a fireman or in a place of high stress, our military, they know what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to keep yourself in a hard time.
What was the learning lesson? Because obviously you put yourself in that position to learn something, and you're saying that one day because I think that left an imprint and gave you the biggest learning lesson. What was that lesson for you?
Life, how short it is, how precious it is, how it's real. Like how many times a day, you personally, do you think about death, that today could be your last day? How many times do you think? Do you forget that you're gonna die?
No, I'm a hypochondriac, so I think
okay. Well, wrong person to ask.
And Corona right now is not the best time.
Oh, true. Okay. But I feel like a lot of people forget that this life is what it is. They forget that life is short, and you can say it, but when you see it, and when it's burned into your head, and you've seen it the way that I've seen it, you know that life is going to end. You know that this is it, and this is your one. Like, don't blow it, for yourself and for families. And
you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
How come becoming a firefighter, how come that came into your mind as something you have to do? Because of course you're serving people, so I see some commonality. But at the same time, you wanted a learning lesson, but you were already, I get your personalities about doing a lot of stuff at the same time, but why not focus on the entertaining part? Why also go into the firefighting part?
Pushing myself, go through it. Like those things are what really fuel my passions, because again, I think about like how life really is so short, and really, I mean, it's wild how fast it all happens. Like without that, like where's my drive? That's what that did. That put more drive in me. That made fire. Me. Yes, that started a fire. Like I've, my entire life has been lived by one philosophy. This right here, this tattoo.
Yeah.
It's a phoenix. I actually drew this myself. It's got my face in there and my feet and all that stuff. But the phoenix that I drew, it means that I live forever through the inspirations that I give others throughout my life. I live forever through inspiration. When I'm dead and gone, this is just a body. But everything that I've taught people, every smile that I give is one thing that made a life better, that has a ripple and echo that continues through the universe, forever. So I live forever through that, and I need to be reminded of that, because someday I am going to ash out. I'm going to burn out.
Right. So passing on knowledge is something that is quite important to you. Explains why you started teaching. Knowledge,
inspiration, fire. The heart's fire. You without all that stuff, I mean, it's a lot of people. It sounds a little hokey, but I mean, we all have it. We all need it.
When did you know you were finished with firefighting? Because you did 2 years, you said?
I almost died.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I almost died. I was on the roof of a house and I was basically punching ventilation. and half the house collapsed, and that could have been me. And that was the time where I said, wow, this is okay, this is it. And it was right around Christmas of 2003, I believe. And I thought, I've done this. It's time for me to go.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't a career firefighter. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to spend my entire life. I knew that I was only in there for a period of time to help. I went through all my training and did all that. In fact, you know what the great thing about being a firefighter was? I was able to help one of my friends. Okay, very quick story.
Yeah.
One of my best friends died in a car accident. I found him. I did everything I could to resuscitate him. I did everything. I worked hard and tried to keep all my other friends calm. And it was really awful. But the best thing that came from that was what I was able to do for his family. I was able to be the guy to basically, when his family showed up on scene, I was the one to say, look, I worked on him. I did everything I could, and here's why. So I helped his family get closure. His family, they're like family to me too. And even now, I still, anytime I can do any search and rescue, in Alaska, when I was living in Alaska, I had a side volunteer job where I would actually rent helicopters and look for missing hikers.
Really?
So I was a search and rescue person, and I did a lot of that stuff. And then I would, help families to find their loved ones out in the middle of nowhere. They actually did an episode of Alaskan bush pilots on me, because that's what I was doing. So they actually paid for one of my helicopters to go out. And so yeah, I would use my own money out of my own pocket to go help and search for these people.
And did you find many people like that, or?
I almost found one. Yeah, his name was Nephi Soper. He was missing. He was actually a National Guard that was doing a hike on his own, and it was like a crazy hike that he should never have taken. And I had some hunches on where he could have been, and I did some, deep searches, but yeah, never found anybody. But that's what I did. So I continue to try to do some good in that.
Do you feel like the training you received, resuscitating and all that stuff, do you have to maintain that every year, or at one point
Yes.
it's just?
Yeah. No, I mean, well, first of all, like it's a certification thing. Like you have to do it, and it's for you. It's for you too. Like they've even changed now. So like when you're giving CPR now, it's just like continuous chest compressions.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas it used to be like a certain number of chest compressions with breathing and all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I remember now.
Yeah, just you got to stay up with that stuff. And I would recommend everybody. Even my daughter one time, I saved my daughter from choking. Like she was choking on a quarter, and she was in this room here. It just used to be like our living room, and like I was like, man, I'm really glad I knew how to do that, because she would have.
So what did you do then? The Heimlich maneuver, or?
Yeah, well, she was really small, so I knew how to do it for an infant. But straight up, she had a quarter like lodged, and I just heard.
Oh, shit.
And I was
so
like,
new parents definitely have to take that course.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
It's real.
I didn't know. Yeah,
She was like a year and a half.
I knew it was different for an infant. I don't know how to do it. I only learned for an adult, but I haven't done it in years. So I mean, you do say you're an entertainer, but it sounds to me like there's almost a serving mindset. Have you ever considered the military then, or?
I at one point in my life, when I didn't exactly know where I was going, I think I was going through a dark time, I tried to apply for like the Air Force or something, and they said no.
How come they said no?
I have no idea. Probably they're like, this guy's a little crazy. He just can't. Maybe I answered the things wrong, or maybe I didn't fill out my answers right. I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't go. I would have been horrible.
Right. So again, shifting a little bit back, throughout those years you were doing all these different jobs. How many years are we talking about? Because everything you're just saying, this is pre-YouTube, of course. This is very much like a prep. It's kind of like there's a lot of patience involved. You're in your 20s. You're sitting there observing, analyzing movies, comparing that to the average somebody in their 20s nowadays, where the patience, I mean, I'm partially like, it took me a while to learn patience, and I have to attribute most of that to my mentors. But it's hard to have patience now, And yet you seem to have, even though you have ADD, you just had the patience to go through how many years it was of just observing, learning before you really did something as big as YouTube? Or what was happening?
Well, you have to think that I knew that something was coming. Like, I knew it. I felt it in my heart. I knew that I wasn't meant for movies or television.
Why not?
I don't know. I just knew. That was all there was. Like, I knew that there was something that I wanted to do different. Because nothing in my life had made sense. Nothing in my life was going by the book. I wrote my own book on how life should go. So, I mean, it only made sense to create a job. Like, I created the job of professional YouTuber. So even though the fact that I never went to school, it never would have helped me, because if I was in school, I wouldn't have become the first professional YouTuber. But no, I just knew. I can't explain why.
Right. How many years were those odd jobs? From what age till what age?
6 years. 6 years. So from 1999 to 2005.
So you were about 18 years old when you started the whole thing?
Yes. So it's right out of high school. I graduated when I was 17, and I was already working full time. You know, again, my family we didn't have a whole lot of money or anything. I was already out of the house by 18. But and then yeah, YouTube. I was pretty poor until Golden Palace came around. So I was eating top ramen, eating terrible.
So pretty much up until 25 years old, that was all prep, learning, patience. And then around that time, 2005, you were switching, well, MySpace you did before that as well. And then the whole YouTube era starts.
Yeah.
And how did that go for you? So you start YouTube, 8,000 people on the platform, you said. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was still very slow. I mean, it's not like, you know, I picked up and all of a sudden I was like famous or something crazy. And monetarily, I was like, oh, I'm actually making money now. This is great, you know. But again, that the money didn't really matter to me as much as it was just continuing on.
But
it was my son.
So, no worries. But so you started on YouTube, and how was that journey? Because right now you have multiple channels. Some of them, you know, in the six figures. You have a couple that are above 1 million, or
are you subscribers?
Yeah,
subscribers don't even matter to me. Like, I don't even care about subscribers.
But
people are always all about subscribers.
But still, it's a difficult journey, and it does show your audience. And to go from that journey, I mean, especially the first 1,000 are hard, and 10,000, and then I think
there was no hard. There was like
No?
there. I didn't think about numbers. I don't. If you're too focused on numbers, like money or the number of people watching you or any of that stuff, then you lose focus on what it is that's the most important, and that is just living good and having fun, enjoying what it is that you do. Especially like for me, that's what it is. Like right now, what I'm doing, like I don't think I've made a YouTube video in a little while. I'm working more so on this VR stuff, and I don't care who watches my stuff. I don't care any of that stuff, because I know that I enjoy it. And if I enjoy it, someone else out there is going to enjoy it too. So long as I continue to do it because I love it, it means that whatever I create is going to be loved by that other person just as much, if not more, because who knows? So if you can focus, understand that you do have to make money. Understand that you do have to rely on those numbers to build yourself. But especially in the very beginning, like I was, without passion, those numbers mean nothing.
Right.
Right now, if I wanted to make huge numbers, views and money, all that stuff, I could, but at the cost of my own happiness.
Right.
I'm only alive once. Every day that I'm unhappy is a day that I've lost. Why do we make money? Why do we want all these numbers? Is it because we just want to be a higher social status? No, I want to be happy. I choose happiness over any number, because every day that's happy, how much, like, you can be rich, filthy rich, and still have a terrible day. You can be poor and love your life. In fact, some of my best days that I've ever had in my life have been when I was dirt poor. Except now I have kids, so that's kind of changed. I love my kids. That's, you know, but I don't think about money. So like I always kind of have at the back of my mind that I'm still very poor, you know, and I like that. I like to feel that. I just like to feel that, hey, you know, it's not that I'm poor or that I'm rich. It's that I don't have to think
Right.
about it.
No, I get it, because I used to live on my own. I think my budget was like 13 euros for the week for food. And that was like a good week. And had subsidized apartments and everything just because I was alone. And I remember from those days, sometimes it took me a long time to really get into my mind, hey, you're not that poor anymore. But I mean, no matter how much, how big the company would get or something, I was always gonna get a discount. I was always gonna look at if a penny was spent wrong. I had to almost learn that sometimes it's not as productive to go after those pennies. But at the same time, what I also learned being there is that it's not as scary as many people think it is, as long as you kind of do what you want to do. And so it was, since the beginning for me, I didn't want to have a job where I couldn't kind of dictate what was going to happen with my day. Or I think what the worst part for me would have been is when I was in that part of my life, I had a lot of people supporting me from the government, stuff like that. Not from the government, from charities. And I remember always wanting to give it back. And I remember thinking that if I would get a job, I wouldn't be able to give back until maybe 10 or 20 years of my career later. And so I always wanted to have a flexible time schedule so I could donate my time. I actually thought about things like firefighting and stuff like that. So it's super interesting that you did that. I think I got more scared of, because firefighting is scary. The tests that they put you through is super claustrophobic and something not for me. But so I have thought about those things, and Startup Fun Events become that thing for me. Like those charities gave back to me. It became my way to give back in scale. So it's super interesting that you say that. It's a very creative way of approaching it. And I guess what pops up in my mind then, me being more business oriented, I've always looked at the game of business as a scaling game. So you have to scale. You scale with teams, you scale with revenue, you scale with the puzzle that you've constructed. But you're looking at this journey from a creative way. So you don't look at the numbers, you don't look at the subscribers, you don't look at scaling. You look at, the target audience and connecting with them from your strengths on, which in that part it's similar. But then the similarities fade away the moment you're actually doing it, because now you're living your passion, you're happy, and with patience comes greatness, I guess. But from my perspective, I'm always optimizing towards scale, and not because I need to scale, I need the numbers, I need the money. I mean, at one point you don't even know what's in the bank. Well, you know your numbers, but to me it's interesting to hear the perspective you're taking, right? The creative perspective. Have you never thought about the way I look at it of, okay, I'm at this stage in my career, I love what I'm doing, but imagine I could be impacting 1 million people or something like that. Have you ever looked at it that way? Have you ever gone strategically towards building those goals and getting there? Or was it always about just passion and doing what you love?
It was always passion. But here's the downside to this. I will never be as big as people think I should be, or something. I'll never be as big as I could be as that.
Right.
Because I don't work for that. I don't push for that. And that's something that I had to accept for myself too. Because there was even a point in my career where I was like, how come like a lot of my friends who are in the YouTube community, how come they're just exploding and doing all this stuff and they're huge, but I'm still kind of like where I'm at. Like I'm the first YouTuber, like I should have much more subscribers and views and all this other stuff. But then I was less like, yeah, but this is what I want. Like that's not me to do that. Now, this is where it would be really good to have a business partner who does all that stuff,
right?
Who is like, that's their mind and that's what they do. But I've never been one to seek someone out that was like that, because I'm like, this works. My wife now, she does that. So I don't even get to look at my bank account. I don't know what we got, but I know that she is always just like, no, you're good. Okay, that's
so
it.
She's an operational person. Okay.
Yes. So and it's funny because she went to college. She actually has like 2 major degrees.
Okay.
She has engineering and psychology. So like 2 of the hardest things. And she went to school, and she's just full-time mom. but she takes care of me in that sense too. Like she's like, yeah, don't think about it. It's a virus to my mind. But yeah, no, I there's a part of me though where I wish that I had that in me and I didn't care so much. But this is who I am. This is how I am, and I've come to accept it. And yes, I would love to reach more people, but if that affects my quality of the reach, then I don't want to do it. I'd rather focus on when I do talk to somebody, do I touch their heart? Do I make a positive impact in them, or do I reach 10 million people and only sort of touch their heart? Yeah, that's my thing.
I think what I love is you really touched it, because I forgot for a second. In business, you're not always supposed to be the dreamer and the operational executive, and I'm very much the operational part. I love the operations, the puzzles, and then obviously there are parts where my team are the dreamers, and sometimes I dream as well, but I had to learn that part. And I think what is really lovely to hear is you are very much passion and the dream, which is super necessary in a business, and then you actually have somebody to take care of the operational part, which will help you scale as well. Really interesting. And I think it's also relevant if you look at it on different sides, perspectives, that if you're starting a business or a YouTube channel or anything, that you should have some brainstorming partner or something that is either the other half of which you are.
But this is why I was saying earlier on that when you're starting a business like this, not just knowing who your customers are, but knowing who you are is going to determine your own success. Like, what does success mean to you? I know that I will never be huge. In my own way, I've gotten out there. I've gotten hundreds of millions, actually billions. I've gotten billions of views. I forget, but see, I don't care. But the thing is, it's like I accept that I could be bigger, but I'm not.
Right.
I accept that. My expectations are meeting where I need to be. I don't want to set them too high, and I don't want to set them too low. I need to be exactly who I am where. Like, I don't even have set expectations. I just say, here's what I want. What I get is whatever I get.
So I guess what you want then is have the ability also to be with your family and everything. So it's never occurred to you to have a bigger team or something like that? Because you said at one point you had an extra member in your team, or what happened there? And
so the only reason he left is because he was training to become a pastor. And so he got a job in Washington to become a pastor. So that's the only reason he moved. And he was just a really good guy that I like to have around. So it's just like, he was really good. And
so you just hired a good friend.
Yeah. Yeah, he knew nothing about what I hired him for, but he was like a really good guy who just, he ended up learning all this stuff because I was just like, hey, let's learn this together. Come on. And it was really great. So that's what that was all about. But I still do plan on having like a bigger team. It's just that, like I told my wife, I said, I'm going to have this company, Daydream Studios is my new company. I said, it's going to be big. I know how many people I want, all of that stuff, but I don't want to manage it. I just want to create. I want to say, look, here are the things that I need. I don't have the time to create this asset, this 3D model. Can you work on that 3D model? Awesome. I need to do this. Can you do this part for me to save me time? Awesome. Great. Now I can do all this stuff because this guy's doing this part for me and that guy's doing that part, and I just put it all together because I love this part. But I don't want to be like over their shoulder like, have you been working enough hours? even when Josh worked for me, it was just like, hey man, if you feel like taking time off, just go. Like,
Right.
You leave. Like, you don't have any like specific time. I'd rather you be happy.
To me, it seems like with your personality, you'd be perfect for, a bigger company. Well, I mean, I can only judge up to like a couple of, 20, 30 people or something like that. But, after I remember the first time we hit above 13 people, like up until 13 people, everything was fine. Like, I didn't really know about their families and stuff like that. Everything was just, okay, let's work. We're friends. Everything's fine. Oh, take some time off. And then after we went over the 13 people, which was a crazy recruitment, we doubled throughout the summer, which was stupid. I wouldn't do it again. But you suddenly have to handle 20,000 fires about families, boyfriends, girlfriends, things about work. You have to establish payrolls that are more like transparent. And so, but I can imagine with your personality, that'd be actually fun to experience.
Yeah, I think eventually I'll probably, well, like I said, I'm creating a company. I want to. Is it weird that I want to hire a boss?
No, it's not.
I just want to hire somebody to be like, okay, Cory, we've got this project. This company wants to do this. You want to do it? Yeah. Okay. Then you go ahead and do that. You know, or they say, hey, do you want to do this? No. Okay, I'll find something else to do. So I don't know. That's what makes me difficult. Like, it's not that I love being my own boss because like I have no overhead and I don't have to listen. I just kind of do whatever it is I want to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. I just want to work around people. I'd rather work in an office where people work and just have people around me to talk and bounce stuff off and all of that. Like, there's a guy that's coming to my house today. I'm helping him with a work project, but for me, it's just fun. I don't really care. It's gonna be fun. I'm watching for him right now. He's supposed to be here like anytime.
So you get energy from people. That's really good to hear.
I get energy from other creative people, and by feeding them that energy, then it helps them and it makes me feel good too. So like my own self-serving purpose is watching. If I can make somebody happy doing something, then it makes me happy. So I self-serve.
Right. So, well, again, small diversion, but we're almost at the end, hopefully. So you are doing these odd jobs. You got there. At one point, you became a firefighter. You finished that, stuntman. Okay, so YouTube comes along. At one point, you mentioned you did something with Jackass as well?
Yeah, so with some of the Jackass guys, like Steve-O from Jackass, I did some stunt show work with Steve-O. And this was like back before he got clean. So I got to see the darker side of Steve-O. But yeah, just little stuff like that, like doing stage work and all that. So we would go up on stage and just do these silly little stunts for the don't try this at home thing. But that was kind of like it wasn't like I was on the road with him or anything like that. I used to be on the road as a musician. I've opened for a lot of great bands, really good people.
Right.
That's another story.
No worries. And so, okay.
Rock star.
So then the YouTube era starts. What are like the biggest learning lessons out of the YouTube journey?
My biggest learning lessons are about people. Understanding other paradigms, understanding how other people are, understanding the way I say things and how people take it. For a long time, I wasn't thinking about how people were taking things, and I realized, gosh, there's a billion things I want to go off on, but just people. I learned a lot about people.
But can you give like a practical example of one that obviously from your perspective?
Okay,
so many comments, so many dedicated fans.
So this one isn't necessarily about viewers, but rather other YouTubers. There was a lot of confusion in the YouTube community early on because I was very open about everything. I'm an open book and I don't care. I don't like hiding things. And if you want to know what I make, I'll tell you, and I don't even care because it doesn't matter to me. But to other people, it does. And I didn't know that because a lot of people would think, oh, you're just bragging. And I'm like, no, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying what it is. But it's just because of where I came from. I came from a place where I didn't have a lot of money. And it's not that I'm like, woohoo. It's just that like, hey guys, I'm stable now. You
Yeah.
know, and,
No, I
and if
get
I
that.
if I tell you like what I have, and if you're not stable, let me help you get to this place. Like, I'm not looking for money from you. I'm looking to help you just
Yeah.
genuinely. But I've also learned that a lot of people are way more skeptical than I am. I'm very optimistic. I'm probably too trusting for my own good. I get used quite a bit, but I've just come to the point in my life where I'm like, okay, well, if as long as I'm being used by the right people,
Right.
use me, just whatever. If it's not hurting me, whatever. Like nobody can hurt my business, because my business is based on the idea that what you make in this life, whether your business, whatever, your YouTube channel, life is not a pie. It's the pie you make. People aren't taking a piece of you unless you give them a piece of you.
Right.
So let them make their pies, you know? And so anyway, learning a lot about myself and other people is the biggest thing that I've taken away. And fame, all this other stuff, all that I've had, and money and all that has never really changed me, because I feel the same.
Yeah.
But-
You've hit something quite important that I've been going through my life quite a lot, and which is the trusting of other people, which had ups and downs with me. But at the core, it's been quite similar as to what you're saying. And I always said, and that was my excuse, and eventually the conclusion that I took was, I would rather be naive and make the mistake of trusting people and then be proven wrong than to start distrusting from the beginning. You're a bit further down the line, so you get to look back a little bit more than me, and you've had, quite an interesting career and different industries. So how do you feel like the conclusion that I took, is that the correct one, and or not?
It's correct for you. Everybody's conclusion is going to be different. No two people are the same. We're all unique in our own ways, and because I don't know where you came from. I don't know your past, and I don't know what it is that you're looking for in life. My answer is not yours. My answer will never be yours, and vice versa.
But you prefer trusting people from your answer than
I prefer trust. I prefer trust because
why?
Because if what I'm doing is good in my heart, and I'm trusting someone, if they break that trust, then hey, that's whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I did what was right. I know I did what was right for me.
Right.
And if they did something that is wrong to me, but I don't take it wrong, then it's not wrong for me. It's wrong for them.
Right.
Obviously don't trust everybody right off the bat. Like, you pick and choose who you're going to trust for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't just let Joe Schmo off the street. Hey, come in my house and eat my food. And yeah, you can borrow my TV. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, just then getting off track a little bit. But yeah, I prefer to trust people because I think genuinely people are good inside. I think there's a lot of good. And there, like in the quote of Mr. Rogers, there isn't a person you couldn't love if you didn't get to know them.
Right.
And I believe that. I believe everybody is trying to do good in some way, shape, or form. Yes, some people make a lot of mistakes in what good is because they get lost and they forget what good is. But when you ask that person later at some point in their life, they're going to be like, yeah, that wasn't good.
Right.
And they know in the moment that whatever it is that they're doing isn't good. I would rather give them the benefit of the doubt than prejudge them before they even get a chance to prove. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to anyone to give them that prejudge. I can't tell you how many times I've had, even on YouTube, trolls, like people who would just say nasty, awful things to me. Later on, come up to me face to face. One year I drove 13,000 miles across the U.S., visited 64 cities to hug everyone who watched me.
Really?
I went to parks, and I just wanted to give people hugs to say thank you. To every single person, anybody who would come to give me a hug, because I just wanted that. That was it. It wasn't for profit or anything. I sold shirts, but it was mainly to keep the gas.
Yeah, exactly.
And because people want shirts, and that's their language. Love language is support. So anyway, I was in, let's see if I can remember this one, in Louisiana. Yeah, New Orleans, Louisiana. And one guy comes up to me, I'm not going to say his name, and he goes, "Hey, can I talk to you over here?" I knew exactly who he was. I remember this guy because he tore me a lot. I mean, he just tore me apart. It didn't hurt my heart, but I knew. And he goes, "Look, I just want to say I'm really sorry for everything I ever did. Everything I ever said to you. I was an awful person, and I hope you forgive me. I don't know why I was doing it. I was in a really rough place. I was having all this stuff, and I just hugged him. I said, you don't need to say sorry. I forgave you the moment you said your first thing. I don't have any reason to hold anything against you. You didn't hurt me as a person. Sure, you may have said something really bad to me, but it's up to me to decide whether or not I'm going to let that thing hurt me."
Yeah, exactly.
So you hurt yourself. And I forgave you because you didn't do anything to me. You need to forgive yourself, man. That's it. Now we're friends on Facebook. Now he's a different type of person. He's completely turned around just because he found a lot of himself. So a lot of times, like when people do bad things to you, it's they're doing bad things to you at themselves. They say nasty things at you, not to you.
Right.
So why would you take the trust away from somebody who is abusing themselves and just feeding a fire, a problem within these people? You know, so that's my thought.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good learning lesson from your YouTube career.
That's something I learned there.
Obviously, going into the future, we kind of covered what you are doing. I guess I have a couple of last questions. More out of interest, how does your kind of week, day-to-day look like? Especially doing so many projects. How do you manage it in your mind, and how does it look like in your day-to-day?
I'll be honest, I'm a workaholic. I do have a problem. And my problem is that even when I'm with my kids, sometimes I think about work. I'm trying to address it.
How do you address it? How do you manage it?
Well, it's about taking the right amount of time off. It's about setting times where, like, look, don't even think about this right now. Like, keep that in the office and keep your family here. Like, it's not that I don't neglect my kids. I love my kids. I play with them all the time. But there's always a part of my head, because of just how I am and how I'm built, that is always thinking, wow, my kids love this. I bet the world would love this too. Man, I should really teach the world how to do this one thing, or I'm going to tell this story that I'm going to share it to the world. And I just always think about the world while I'm doing stuff. But I can't help it, because I'm an artist and a creative, and it's just always going to be in me.
But has it affected you negatively in some way?
No.
Like energy, fatigue, or something?
No. I don't get fatigued from this stuff. It energizes me. If I have to go to work, I get excited. I freaking love going to work. Long weekends bother me. Vacation bothers me. I had to go to, we went to Hawaii. It was our first vacation that I've taken since YouTube, like a real vacation with no anything. And the first 4 or 5 days, I was just like, I was itching. I was like, I need to create something. But then after a couple days, it finally calmed down. But every day I'm in my head. Every day I work, because it's not work to me. I don't work. I just do what I love to do, you know. But my day to day.
Yeah.
You know, I wake up early in the morning, like 6:30. Something like that, 6:30, and then I, get my food, and I'm already thinking about, what I was dreaming about and what it meant and how I'm gonna put it together and whatever it is, and then play with the kids for a little while, and then come to work, do my thing, just work. I forget to eat lunch because I'm too excited usually, so my wife helps me with that, and then get off work at 5, and then try to stay off work. But cool. Yeah.
Sounds good. And then last question, which is a audience requested question. Do you read any books, and what kind of books can you recommend?
I've never read a book before. I've listened to books. When I say read a book, I mean listen to it. I've never read a book.
So even audiobooks?
No. I can listen to books. I've never read a book before.
So which books are you listening to currently, or which ones can you recommend?
The two that I talked about, Primal Branding, really great one. and of course the 7 Habits of Highly Effective. Is it 7 Habits of Highly
Yeah,
Effective People?
it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That one. Purple Cow, really
What's
great one
that?
too.
What is it about?
It's another business one. Purple Cow. It's there's a lot in that one. That one's worth a listen. But I like that one a lot. Purple Cow. That one is kind of funny.
What did you learn out of it?
I don't remember. I just remember it was good.
Okay.
It was a good one. No, it's more business stuff though. Oh, Purple Cow is what makes you and your business unique. That's why it's a purple cow. The purple cow gives purple milk, and you milk that cow until that cow doesn't give you anything else, until the world becomes purple cows. But yeah, so that's a really good one to help you in your uniqueness. That's what it is. And yeah, those are the. I've listened to a lot of stuff. I spent a lot of time earlier on listening to a lot of Dr. Dyer, Wayne Dyer. I love Dr. Dyer. He was my guy.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah.
And then last question: do you have anything else that you'd love to kind of share? Last lessons, biggest learning lessons out of your entire career so far that you can give to our listeners and viewers?
I would like to tell people this is the way that I live, and this is the way that I hope a lot of people will start to embrace living more. And it's living more. Live. If you're not living, you're not living. You're not doing it right. I believe that life should be judged, of course, not by the number of things you've done or whatever, like how much you have. It's about the number of things you can remember on your deathbed. Because you're gonna die. Face it, you're gonna die. You're right now, you are in a walking carcass that you are inside of, and you have these thoughts and feelings, emotions, and you can do this if you want to right now, but this isn't gonna be forever. So when you're dying, when you're just on your deathbed, never die with regret. Never die feeling like, man, I why didn't I do that? Why didn't I? Die feeling like, you know what? I did all that stuff. I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
So that's it, I guess.
I think
totally
that's
butchered that, by the way.
No, I think it's a great. It's a
but
great way to close it.
But that's how I feel.
Thank you so much for coming on. Super excited to see the end result, and maybe maybe we'll see each other again on this podcast. We'll invite you back.
That'd be fun. I love to talk.
Super excited. I love the conversation. I learned a lot from it.
Good.
So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
If you like this episode, you can check out our most recent one here. And if you haven't already, make sure you click here to subscribe and see the next one. But if you're interested in more tips and tricks, then make sure to join our Facebook group, where you can find thousands of like-minded people and you get direct access and support to any business question from the entire startup funding event team.